Hi, I'm Kate Dorsey. Welcome to Fun, Fierce Freedom, how to build the self-confidence you need to win in every area of your life. I am so excited to be talking to y'all today and to Jordan Duvall. Hey, Jordan, how you doing?
Hi, Kate. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad we could work this out. I would love to talk about what you do and how you got started doing that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a brand strategist and I'm venturing into business coaching. And I really work with my clients to help them create a brand that markets to their ideal audience.
Ooh, so how do we do that? Like, how do we figure out what our ideal audience is? How do we start to create visibility with our brand?
Well, in terms of figuring out where your ideal audience is, it really starts with it's two things. One, what is the transformation that you are creating? What are the results you're delivering? And who benefits from that, right? Who has that problem that you're solving? And, there's also the kind of caveat of who do you want to work with? Who do you enjoy working with most? Because I deal with this a lot with my clients is they think they should be helping a certain person or everyone. And then they go about doing that and they just don't enjoy it. So, it's a delicate balance of making sure that, you're serving who you're here to serve, but you also enjoy that, sector of the marketplace.
I love what you're saying there because it's really, really important that we don't just like show up and do things. Like, it's really important that we figure out who we like to work with because it makes a huge difference when you approach work as this is fun and I get to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like get to versus have to. And I'm so big on intentionality because I had spent so much time in my life not being intentional, not realizing that I'm responsible for my reality. I'm responsible for my life and I have, the power to create whatever I want. And I think when you really, I feel like that's kind of, like a buzz topic of conversation that people are like, oh yeah, totally, like right on, I get it. And then when you actually like adopt that mind frame in your life and you realize, wow, okay, this is really powerful. And, if I'm not happy with something in my life, guess who has the power to fix it and who's the one that created it? So
yeah, I love that
you're fix it.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that. Can we break down intentionality just a bit, just in case there's anyone in the audience who is like, say what? What do you mean by that? I totally understand it. I know right where you're going with it. I'm a huge fan of it as well. And I love thinking of like, anytime something's not working in my life, I always automatically turn the mirror right back onto me. And I'm like, what do I need to change to have this work?
Intentionality. That's a good question. So for me, it's about making the choice that you want a specific outcome. So you've decided that you want to reach some sort of goal, create something in your business or make a certain amount of money or, hang out with your friends a certain amount of times a week, something that's a specific tangible outcome that you want to create. And then you are aligning all of your actions to get you to that end result. To me, that's what intentionality means.
Yeah. Okay. I love that because it's really like the power of our choice, and then how do we build these steps to move us to that goal? And I'm assuming that you actually use that a lot, Jordan, in your work with clients, in terms of like shifting them into figuring out who do you want to work with, and then now that we know that, how do we become visible?
Yeah, the visibility question.
Yeah.
How do we become visible? Well, from my experience in my own life, I found that I had trouble being visible because I didn't really know what I was saying and I didn't really know who I was talking to. So, I had this like voice in the back of my head that was like, you got to get on video, you got to be posting, you got to be doing all these things. And I wasn't doing it. And one day I had I signed up for this video program and this woman gave away a free one-on-one and I was on the call with her. And this was back when I was doing network marketing. And she was like, do you even want to be doing this? And I was like, what? She's like, do you even know who you're talking to? I'm like, no, I have no idea who I'm talking to. I was like, in my company, they tell me I have to help everybody. So I have no clue what I'm actually saying because the conversation is different based on who it is I'm actually serving.
So yeah, you can't talk to everybody. Like that's no. Okay.
If you talk to everyone, you're talking to no one.
Exactly.
So in terms of like, how do you become visible? There's I mean, ultimately it really just comes down to making the decision. Like, I'm going to be visible. I'm going to do whatever it takes. It's not comfortable. I mean, when I get on Facebook Lives, I'm like, oh my God, Facebook Live. But I'm just like, go.
Right? Yeah, you do it anyway. You do it anyway.
Yeah, you do it anyway. You know, when you show up, you get to be consistent. And, you know, there's a lot, I feel like there's a consistency is a loaded word. You know, sometimes people are like, oh God, you're like crushing my soul by making me be consistent. And it's like, okay, if you want to look at it that way, you're welcome to. But you can also look at it that it builds trust in your audience, right? Like, you have a message, you're showing up, they know they can count on you, and they begin to rely on you and they want to listen to you. Like, if you just like disappear, well, they're going to go find that message from somebody else. Yeah. So there's that. And I mean, sometimes, you know, I just did a live about this in my group yesterday that, you know, it was like, I was talking about, you know, what do you do when you feel like giving up? And, you know, part of it is, you know, if you're not visible, you have to, I mean, there's two things that could be going on. One could be that for some reason, you're not in alignment with what you're doing. And for whatever reason, you think you should be doing something, you like somehow your business took a direction that you like wasn't intentional or just kind of was intentional, but you've shifted and you're not really enjoying it and you're not showing up because you don't love it. Right. So that's option A. Option B is you're afraid, you're letting it hold you back. You know, you've got all these thoughts in your head, your perfectionism is going like, oh my God, I can't show up if I, you know, don't have all my stuff in order and I don't have a perfect script, or, you know, I can't post my Instagram if it's not perfect. So I think definitely like perfectionism can be a visibility killer for sure. And, you know, at the end of the day, perfectionism is really fear in disguise.
Yeah, it really is. Actually, I would say that so many things are truly rooted in fear. Like when it comes down to things at the end of the day, I often think, what's the number one thing that holds people back? And honestly, it's fear, like across the board.
Yeah. I mean, I think fear of judgment is the big one.
Yeah.
For sure. But, you know, you also have to think that what you are reacting to in the world, you create. So if you're afraid that people are going to judge you, then there's something going on in your life that you're judging. And you need to figure out, like, are you judging other people? And so subconscious, you're like, oh, other people are going to judge me. Because the way you're talking about other people, your subconscious actually thinks that you're talking about you. Because your subconscious, I'm certified in NLP, so I'm like nerd out on all of this stuff. And your subconscious can't differentiate you from someone else. So if you're in your mind talking about, you know, oh, like judgy thoughts about XYZ, your subconscious is going to put that back on you. So if you feel like this sense of judgment, chances are you're putting judgment out there on your end and you're receiving, that's what's causing the problem.
I love that. That is such a, like, that just was super deep.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, no, I love it. Cause like, that's often how I think, where it's like, anytime that there is something that I'm judging in others, I know that I pick that apart in myself. I had never heard it framed as your subconscious doesn't know that you're doing that you're doing it towards another person, that it only experiences it as you. I think that's probably one of the most powerful statements I've heard in a long time, or more recently, because it's just there. It's just really like when you're doing that, like it's more of a impetus to change. So it's like, why would I want to keep telling my subconscious that this is, or like something like this isn't working, or this isn't good enough, or like, why would I want to do that or pick something apart in somebody else, like they're not doing a good job,
right?
If my subconscious hears I'm not doing a good job, you know, like, wow, that's a huge game changer for folks, I think.
Yeah. And you have to be really mindful of your language, because again, your subconscious doesn't realize you're talking about someone else. Your subconscious, when you're like, she sucks, or like, oh, I don't like her, or I can't believe that she's succeeding, or I don't know, whatever sort of catty mean girl shit people talk about, your subconscious thinks you're talking about yourself. So watch what you say, because it literally boomerangs right back to you.
That's so, so powerful. So really, it's like, we get to change this. We get to decide to not be judgy of others, because when we're judging others, we're really judging ourselves, which is really meant to empower us. So when it comes to really like getting ourselves out there in terms of building a brand that works for us, you're really suggesting that, number one, we need to get really clear on like, who are we serving? Who do we enjoy serving? Who do we enjoy working with? Then we have to just put ourselves out there in terms of visibility. Like, it's just consistently showing up. it's making a commitment and just doing it over and over. And then it's really watching our thoughts in terms of like, what are we saying? What's the language we're using? How are we talking about other people? Is there anything else that you feel is really key to like building your business?
Well, I mean, obviously the visual part is super important, you know? I mean, I have a background in art direction and graphic design. And, you know, if that's not your skill set, then, you know, that's totally fine. But I do think that it's very important to realize that you have like 3 seconds to make a first impression. And if your online presence is not up to snuff, people are going to be like, meh, I don't know if I want to like hire them, especially if you want to live in like the high end world, right? Have higher level programs and stuff like that. If your, you know, Instagram and your social media and your website like doesn't look the part, people are going to be confused. They're going to be like, wait, she wants me to pay, you know, $1,500, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever, insert price point to her. And then I look at her world and I'm like, this doesn't look like a you know, a VIP world that I would pay lots of money for. So you have to, you know, walk the walk and talk the talk. So if that's something that you're serious about, you know, you need to invest in branding. And one thing that I'm really big on is, you know, I've been the one that receives the client information, and I've been a client. So I've been on both sides of the street, and I see, you know, I've had people come to me and they have no idea what they want. And I'm just like, okay, like anything, McFly, like anything that I can like go on. They're like, I don't know. And then they're not clear. And they think that I'm going to solve all their problems. And it's like, it's just setting yourself up for disaster, because you're going to ruin your relationship with your creative. I tell you now, from the creative standpoint, then it'll go sour. And, you know, you're not going to get what you want, because they don't really know what to give you and you don't know what you want. So I'm really about teaching my clients how to get really clear, like on the structural, you know, foundational pieces of their brand. And then I teach them how to translate that into something visual. So now it becomes, that's why for me, it's all about authentic branding, because it is literally a physical representation of this essence and this formless thing that you have created. And now you're giving it form. And, you know, the colors are aligned with your message, your brand personality, your vibe, all of those things, you know. And wherever you are in your business, you know, when you're just starting out, maybe you're not ready to invest, you know, and so maybe at that point you like lean into some stock photos, or, you know, get some Canva templates or something, you know, get some stuff on Etsy that's pre-made. And, you know, maybe it's not like your be all end all brand down the road, but you know what, we all evolve. Like I literally like have spent all weekends updating my website. Like I just was like, it's not aligned. Like I've evolved, and it's been like, I've been like, my husband came home the other day and I was like at my computer, like, he was like, you look crazy. I'm like, I'm updating my pictures. He was like, oh my God. So as you grow, you evolve, and, you know, be where you are, but be intentional with what you're putting out there. Because if you're just like, oh, whatever, you know, really sloppy about it, people are going to remember that. And then they have this idea and impression of you, and you're going to have to work that much harder to change that.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally hear what you're saying, because it's really like what you're talking about is getting really clear on what you want and how you can align that vision with the brand, so that people like one of the reasons branding is important is because people associate you with that. It's like you're in certain colors because those colors speak to something that you're creating. Like some of my colors are fun because I like to have fun, and it's a representative of me. And it's also really cool because you're also hitting that, like, sometimes we evolve and we change, and like where we start in the marketplace at one point may not be where we are 2 years from now, or even 6 months. Like sometimes it shifts, but we really want to get into this point of like, you need to approach when you're working with somebody who does branding, you need some ideas about like it's very different if you show up and you're like, I have no idea, versus like, I like to have fun. I like things that are joyful and colorful. Like that gives my branding person more direction to let their creativity flow.
Right. But then there's also like her interpretation of what that means. Right. So it's like, you have to give them even more meat of what is your visual expectation. And now I can, you know, do my expertise thing and make it look that way. But if you just come in with no idea, you know, like I talked about on some podcasts how, you know, so many people come in and they're like, I see in Facebook groups, they're like, I need to get a logo made. And then they share their logos. And I'm like, well, who's your ideal client? Like, I don't know. Or like someone 25 to 50 that lives in the United States. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Any more information that I can use to decipher which one's the better logo?
Right.
So, it's like people jump into thinking that they need to have a logo and somehow that's like going to mean that they have this real business. But ultimately, like you have to back that way up. And, I'm taking James Wedmore's Business by Design right now, which is amazing. If you guys haven't taken it, I highly recommend it. But in that, like I had this major aha because, I live in the branding world, but I also have a very linear mind and like I'm super about strategy and structure. So I interweave the business and the branding together. To me, they're one and the same. But James breaks it down and he's like, business is numbers. So it's like at the end of the day, your business piece of this thing is the numbers pieces. Like what are your conversion rates? What are your income goals? What is your ROI? Like all those like acronyms that you're like, what? Like make your head spin. That's the business piece of your business. And you track that, you lean into it, and then you can pivot based on what stats come back. And literally absolutely everything else is your brand. Yeah. Absolutely everything else is your brand.
Okay. I've never thought of it that way. Can you if it's, what is why is our brand so important? Like, what does that do for people? How does it help us move our business forward?
Well, basically your brand does the selling for you, right? Mm-hmm. It's like when you create like a visually compelling brand, something that has powerful messaging that is really in tune with your clients, what it is, like, the problem that you're solving, what language to use to speak to people so that they know that you're there and you're the solution to their problems. And then also that you speak in such a way that they, what's the word I'm looking for? They self-select. Yeah, self-select. Like they know like, oh yeah, she's totally like, yes, like you can solve my problem. Right. And I think it removes a lot of objections. It also I had one of my clients go to a marketing seminar the other day and she's like, the way you teach branding is totally different from these people. And I was like, what's the difference? She's like, they're teaching, because I we live in our little boxes. I'm like, I don't know, this is Jordan land. What's going on over there?
Right. I've been over here. Right.
I don't know. I live over here. We're having sushi later. It's cool. And so she was like, they're very much about like, celebrity street cred stuff. And I was like, well, that's important, but it's really like, she's like, you're so much about like the heart. And I was like, well, that's why I call it Ignite Your Soul Brand, because when you are aligned and then from like an energetic standpoint, people resonate with you and they don't know why, because you are so clear and that energy literally infuses into your whole world, into the images, into your messaging, into your graphics, into your website. And it's like this stuff, it's real, like it's living, breathing. People can sense things when they come and they see you online because there's energy coming through that screen just as much as it's coming through face to face. I mean, maybe not quite as strong, but people pick up on that. So, having that authenticity and part of that authenticity is like, you have to be clear yourself, because if you're trying to be something that you're not, like you just by default can't be authentic. So it's a lot of like, I do a lot of inner work with my clients so that they can get to that place where they're like, this is who I am, and just like show up loud and proud. And they're like, this is me. Like, who's ready?
Yeah, I love that. And I so totally resonate with it. It takes a lot of inner work to really get there. And like, if we're really looking at like, I want to move my business forward, I want to really get crystal clear on my branding, what are some of the steps you would take your clients through? I mean, obviously there's a huge component of clarity, but where else might you take them?
Well, I mean, for me, the biggest things are your dream client, like to be really clear on who you're serving, because absolutely everything hinges on that. And I don't think people realize that, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to deal with that. Or like, I kind of know who my dream client is. But like, you think about it from like a health and fitness perspective, right? So let's say you have a health and fitness coach and one of them is helping like, new moms lose baby weight. And then you have another health and fitness coach who's helping, like high powered executives who travel a lot, eat healthy and like navigate their way through client dinners,
right.
whatever is involved in that life. Right. So on like the super high level, they're both health and fitness coaches, right? So if somebody was like, yeah, I'm a health and fitness coach, you'd be like, okay, cool, whatever. I don't need that, right? But then if they start talking and they share their mission statement with you, which is number 2, which is super important, and they tell you who they serve, what the results are, and what benefits you get, which is really a mission statement in a nutshell. Then, you know, if it's a new mom you're talking to, they're gonna be like, oh, and you know, you're just like, I help new moms lose 20 pounds so they can, you know, have more like love in their marriage and feel better about themselves. I don't know, I just kind of made that up, but you know, something like that. Whereas someone who is helping these corporate executives, or, you know, I help you navigate the landscape of, you know, client dinners so that you can stay, you know, energized and have top of your game, right? Because you have to serve these people at such a high level. So you have these two people. So when you like drill down and you like chunk down into their worlds, you realize that like the language that they're going to use, just the language alone of talking to a new mom versus like a high powered executive. I mean, those are totally
different.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you think about it and it's like, okay, well, now that you know who you're serving, you know what the conversation is you're having. How do you convey that from an aesthetic standpoint, right? Like a new mom is going to have a certain aesthetic that they're going to appeal to, right? It like maybe more pastel-y, like have some like, you know, a little bit more kiddie vibe to it. Something that like that's the aesthetic that they're maybe
drawn to.
They're not always used to, but that's kind of what they're in right now. Whereas a corporate executive is gonna be like, you better be like in like nice clothes and look buttoned up and look legit, and you better be fit and you better look strong and powerful, right? And so like the way you present yourself is going to be different. So it's really about, you know, making sure that the presentation that you put together from a visual standpoint also speaks to your dream client. Because can you imagine if you were the like health and fitness coach for the moms, showing up like in a suit with like a laptop and like your hair all perfect? They'd be like, later, chickie.
Right,
like,
right. I'm in yoga pants. I haven't put real pants on in 3 weeks.
So she's like, I haven't showered. Like, are you kidding me? I have like a spit up on me. I mean, none of that. So like there's also that. And then there's like the whole user experience side of it too. And, you know, I come from advertising and I've worked in major networks and major agencies. So like I see how they do things from, you know, the big boys playground, but there's no reason that, you know, smaller businesses or solopreneurs can't integrate that stuff if they're conscious that it's something they need to take into consideration, right? So it's like, even if you think about the user experience of it, right? A new mom is probably like home alone with the baby and they're just like, like going crazy, right? So this coach may do in-person stuff or do group stuff because their end user needs that community, right? Whereas the corporate executive is like, I don't get time for that. Like I have meetings back to back. Like I just want to Voxer you, or I just want to text you. So the actual way you communicate with your dream client needs to align with like how they're going to receive and operate within that information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's like crystal clear, because it's really about like getting like the image that you put out there is the image that appeals to your ideal client and calls them forward. And if it's not if it's not congruent, then it creates this like mishmash and this confusion, and they're not going to go towards you because they don't get it. So your brand really needs to be in alignment with like your mission and your ideal audience and who you want to work with, because it speaks for itself.
Right. And that's when, like, when you have all that stuff clear, then you can move into the marketing piece, right? Because like the way I look at it is like marketing is basically like taking the volume and just like turning it way up, right? Like you're posting all the time, you're showing up, you're doing videos, maybe you're doing paid advertising. Like now the message is like getting louder and like amplifying, right? But if you don't know who you're talking to and you don't know like what you're, you know, who you're serving, what your packages are, how to present yourself, and then you turn the volume up, like, whoa, mess, total mess. Then people are like, it's just loud, like stop, right? So you want to make sure that when you turn the volume up, that it makes sense. So it's like, for me, it's really about building these pieces and doing it in the right order, because so many people, like I just did a talk over the weekend of how to use social media to build your funnel. It was like explaining to people that, you know, Instagram is not your business, right? Like Instagram is the top of the funnel that is like leading people down into your world, knowing that they want to, you know, go down the customer journey and level of awareness to eventually become a client and potentially a repeat client.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point, because it's just the thing that's out there that might, it's like a net almost, like catching people and like funneling them down. When it comes to like, so like when we're talking about visibility, it reminds me of like, we have to be willing to put ourselves out there. And if we're not willing to put ourselves out there, a lot of times we might have confidence blocks.
Right.
something that's standing in the way. Have you run into that with some of your clients where they needed to really step more into confidence, or even just step into doing, even if they're not feeling that way?
Yeah. And, I think one thing to keep in mind that people may or may not realize is confidence is actually a state. You can create confidence like that. Like, you don't need to become confident. Confidence is really a mixture between your focus point and your physiology. So how are you, if you're not feeling confident, it's like, okay, well, how is your body? Are you standing tall? Are you breathing deeply? Are your shoulders back? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how are you presenting yourself? Are you slumped over? What is that? Like, if you think about a confident, if you saw a picture of someone who looked like kind of downtrodden and someone who looks super confident, what does that physiology look like? And you would be able to tell immediately, like, oh, they're super not confident and they're, going to take over the world. You'd be able to tell with, like, from a subconscious level, you'd be able to read those cues and know.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sorry, I totally got sidetracked. What was the question again?
No, it was already so great, because I'm so on board with it. Like how you carry your body reflects whether or not you are actually embodying confidence.
Right.
So I love
Right.
what
And
you're
so
talking about.
the other piece is the focus point, right? So, so many, and I just talked about this yesterday in my live, is like, so many people think about, like, so there's like the glass half full, the glass half empty, right?
Mm-hmm.
But another way to look at that is, are you a towards person or an away person? And what does that mean exactly? So when you think about, like, I recently left my full-time job, right? And like, for the longest time, I would think, like, I can't wait to quit my job. I can't wait to quit my job. I can't wait to quit my job. And then I started, like, learning about NLP and all this subconscious, stuff, and the power of language. And I learned about towards and away. And I was like, wait, I'm thinking about my entire life in relationship to being dissatisfied with my current state of being. Like, I am framing my entire business success around quitting my job. And I was like, that is nonsense. I'm like, that's not the way I should be looking at this, because I'm in resistance to everything in my life. Whereas if I flip it and I'm like, I can't wait to be full-time in my business so that I can, like, spend all day sharing my message, that I can be working with clients, that I can be doing visibility stuff, that I can do all of these things. So can you see, like, the difference when your focus is on, I'm dissatisfied with my life, I don't like it, what can I do to make it different, versus, like, I can't wait to, like, receive this amazingness that's coming into my life. So a lot of times confidence is coming from, like, well, what are you thinking about, right? If you're sitting there like, oh my God, no one's going to listen to me, I'm going to go on live and everyone's going to think I'm stupid, and, like, my hair is going to look weird, and the lighting's going to be bad, and, like, on and on and on, chatter nonsense. Of course you're going to be not confident, right? Because you're telling yourself, like, you suck. Why nobody cares, right? But if you flip that and you're like, and that might require standing up, listening to some music, like changing your physiology, and then switching your focus. Maybe you have to listen to an audiobook and just being like, if I help one person with what I say, then it's all worth it, right? Because it's like, you don't know, and you don't know if, like, one person hears you or a million people hear you, but ultimately you just have to trust that, like, you really believe in your message, and for whatever reason you're obsessed about it, for who knows why, and you just can't stop talking about it, and that's going to fall on the right person's ears.
I love that. I love all of that. So I love the idea of really getting excited about something. Why would I keep saying something like, oh, like, my job's a drag or something like that? Like, I can either shift my focus towards, like, what fills me up, what lights me up, and our messages light us up too. Who knows why we all have a different message, but we do, and we get really, really excited about it, and we can't wait to share. And so I love what you're really talking about, how, like, confidence is this mixture of what am I focusing on, and how it, like, what am I, like, physically doing? And so, like, these are really great, like, almost like ways to fast track confidence, so that it's like, I get to be confident, and I get to do that by having my body be in a certain way. And then also, what is it that I'm telling myself? So I love that you brought so much of the subconscious in on this, because a lot of times we just wouldn't think of that, Jordan. Honestly, like, you wouldn't think that there would be so much, like, mindset stuff happening behind branding.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all that, like, and I tell my clients and, people that are interested in working with me, I'm like, for me, mindset, business, and branding, they're all woven together. Like, there's people that are mindset coaches, there's people that are business coaches, there's people that are branding coaches. Like, to me, I'm like, like, you're just giving me part of the puzzle. I was like, they all weave together.
Yeah.
And in my journey, I built on top of each of these elements in my own journey. And, you know, cause I hired a business coach, and I just took everything that I learned from that and everything I knew from branding and literally like wove them together simultaneously. So to me, I don't see how you do them separately. And I mean, people do, but to me, I see them completely woven together. And the mindset piece is so important. Like I have on my team, I have an NLP coach, I have a mindset coach, I have like a couple of spiritual healers that I have work with my clients, because all of that stuff, I mean, because it's like really helping people get clear on who they are, you know, get that vision, get that fire, and like get after it. I mean, I see women come into my group and they're like, I don't know, like I want to have a business, but I don't really know what that is. And they come out and like one woman decides she wanted to go. Well, I've had a few women decide they want to become health coaches. I've had a woman that like wanted to move and thought that would be like 2 years away. And literally like a month into my program, she picked up and moved to her dream city with her entire family. And it's like, when you like dial the stuff in and you just decide, it's like, there, like the distance between you and your dream is totally made up. You choose. Like you and your dream, if it feels far away, you're pushing it far away. You can literally like become, you and your dream can be right now. There's no need for it to be later. Does that make sense?
That beyond makes sense. That was so like, okay, golden nugget moment. Y'all take that all, like seriously take that in, because like, she's right. Like it like we put our dreams so far off. We're like, oh, I have to wait until this. And I've seen people do that with happiness. Like I'll be happy when I'm 10 pounds thinner, or when I finally have the business that I dream of. But the truth is you can have it, and like, you just get to move in that direction, and you don't have to think that everything is so far off. Jordan, this has been fantastic. I know you have a free gift for our audience. Would you tell them what that is?
Yeah, awesome. Well, I've been having a lot of people reach out and want to know my secret sauce with Instagram. So I created 10 must-have tools to build your Instagram, which Kate will share with you. And, you know, it's got some really amazing tools that I use all the time that I share with my clients, because, you know, these tools can help us streamline our workflow and have better visuals and, you know, take better, you know, tracking accountability for our growth and everything like that. So, you know, it's a great toolkit for you.
Yeah. And you guys, to access Jordan's free gift, just scroll below and click the button and it'll take you straight there. And then Jordan, if they are interested in working with you or learning more about you, where should they go?
The best place to go is my website. So that's jordanduvall.com. And, you know, I've got lots of resources. You can check out my client work, client testimonials. And, you know, that's a really great way. I've got a bunch of podcasts that I've been on that you can listen to if you want to learn more about just listen to me get fired up about various topics of things. And, you know, my Instagram is @IgniteYourSoulBrand. My Facebook is @IgniteYourSoulBrand. And then I have a Facebook group that's also @IgniteYourSoulBrand. And, you know, it's an amazing group, fantastic community. So that's a really great place to come and join. And, you know, I'm in there, I'm doing lives regularly. You know, I'm very active in that group. And if you're interested in working together, you can go to my website and fill out the coaching application, and, you know, then we can speak further.
All right. Awesome. This has been an amazing interview. I love how you really walked us through how we need to get clear on who our client is, the components that really go behind creating visibility. And then even like, how do we really how do we start to become more confident? What do we need to do? And then that last like literal golden nugget about our dreams, and like that the distance really is made up. Like, that's so fantastic. Thank you so much for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. Bye, y'all.